Hello, YouTube. Um, so I'm gonna start a new YouTube channel, because it's going to be basically a whole season or whatever of what to expect when your boyfriend or husband or whatever goes to a Navy boot camp. So my boyfriend just left actually yesterday, to go into the Navy, and today would be his first day. So, what happened yesterday is, I don't know if it's the same everywhere, but here in Colorado, we went into this big building called a MEPS building, and I went in there and we waited for like forever. It was like an hour, 2 hours, or whatever, and we were sitting there waiting for him, to do whatever. I don't even know what he was doing, but some kind of paperwork is what I'm guessing. And uh, we were called out, and there were several other families there. And um, I'm pretty sure he was a petty officer or something, but he came into the room and was like, "When I call your child's name, please stand up and follow me." And about 4 or 5 families stood up, including me. When we went into this small room where they were standing, and the recruiter, before we walked into the room, gave us instruction of do not talk to them, be as silent as you can. You're allowed to bring cameras, you're allowed to take videos and pictures, and don't knock over the flags. And so my boyfriend was standing on the outside, and he was the tallest one there. And so all they did was raise their hand and say their full name and repeated everything that the other officer said. And soon after that, they were allowed to turn around and walk towards their family, and we were allowed to take pictures in the hall and all that. And he left next door to go and sign his papers. His officer did say that like he would go in there for just a few minutes and be back, and we might have 30 minutes with them, so to wait in the waiting room. Well, that was not true. He was in there for quite a while, and when we did see him, he looked at us and said, "I have about 45 seconds to say goodbye to you guys, and I would have to leave." So he gave us hugs, he all told us he loves us, and turned around and left. And as his girlfriend of 6 years, it's been really hard. Like, it was hard to watch him leave, even though it was 2 months. Sorry, even though it is technically only 9 weeks that he will be gone. It was hard for me to watch him go, because it's the longest we've ever been apart. Like, the longest we've been apart is maybe 2 weeks. And so for him to be gone for over a little over 2 months is kind of difficult, because we both use each other for support. And yeah, so when he left, he still had his phone with him. He was allowed to text, but he did not text very often. I probably got until from when he left. It was about 2 o'clock. No, it was almost 1 o'clock in the afternoon, to when he arrived in Chicago, Illinois, to his boot camp. I got probably 6 texts from him. Um, I texted him a bunch saying I loved him and I believed in him, and I hope he does well. Um, he got there, or when he left, we all left and went home. And I got a text from him, and he said that he was leaving to the airport immediately. So him and his recruit buddies all got into a van where they shipped him off into the airport, and there they would stay until their flight. Well, his flight got delayed, which usually that does not happen, but that day it did get delayed just a couple hours, and he got on the plane. And of course, when you're on the plane, you won't get any service up there. So I did not get any text messages from him. The last text message I did get from him, however, told all he said was, "I've landed. I made it into Chicago. I have to turn in my phone. I love you. Goodbye." And A couple hours later, it was like 1:30 in the morning, he did call his mom. It was 25 seconds long. It was a scripted call, so he was not allowed to say I love you. He was not allowed to put his own words in. It is scripted. It is strictly scripted to say basically, I made it here into Chicago. You will get a letter from me in about 2 weeks with my address, and I am mailing my stuff in a box back home that I have brought with me. Um, so that was about 1:30 in the morning when we got that call. And so today is his official day. It's like, oh hell, it's 6:30 here in the morning, so it's probably 8 o'clock there. He's been up since 4 o'clock. Um, what I have heard, I'm not 100% sure, but what I have heard, that on their first 2 days they do not get any sleep. So technically, he did not get up at 4. He has been awake the entire time, and um, when they get off the bus, like the second they get off, they're already getting screamed at. They're already getting orders. Um, they're completely retraining their brain to become a Navy sailor. I'm going to be doing videos about every day, every other day about the progress or what I know um, on what it's like to be a military girlfriend, wife, whatever, from the beginning. Um, so if you guys like want necklaces to give each other or rings, he cannot wear necklaces. He can wear a band, like a very um, thin band, I believe. He has not told me otherwise. I have spoke to his recruiter. He also told me that bands are fine, but he also told me I'd have 30 minutes with my boyfriend and I got 45 seconds. So, I'm not 100% sure unless the rules have changed, unless they are a Marine. If they are a Marine, they cannot wear bands because of all the dangerous work. They are afraid of it causing injuries to their fingers. But seeing as he's in USN, uh, bands are fine. So what will happen is he will get a little box when he gets in there, and he has 1 minute to take everything off. Like they could bring headphones for the flight or whatever. Um, they'll be wearing, they have to wear jeans to be sworn in. They can't wear like sweatpants unless they do not own jeans. Like, there was one kid in there who was pretty poor, and I talked to him for a little bit, and he did not own jeans at all. He just wore his fanciest sweatpants. So they do advise you to wear jeans for your swear-in. Um, yeah. So that's about it. For me personally, it was really hard to watch him leave, even though it's only 2 months. It's going to be hard because you cannot text them, because even if you do, it's just going straight to their phone. They don't even have a phone. They won't talk to you. Um, they will get a call in their 3 or 4th week of being there. They say if you don't get any calls, no news is good news, is what I've heard. If you do get calls from the military office within the next week of them leaving, something has gone wrong. Either their physical isn't as good, or they are not doing as well as they thought. My boyfriend personally is very strong. He's 6'4", and he's pretty athletic, but he's not a runner. And his mother is, but he is not. And to be in eligible to graduate, he has to run the mile in under 15 minutes. And it's, or not a mile, sorry, a mile and a half in under 15 minutes, which seems like it wouldn't take very much. Like, for me personally, I can run a mile in about 8 minutes. I'd never have tried to run a mile and a half, so I don't know, but I think I could easily make it under 15. But the hard part, after you've ran your 15, is by the end of your boot camp, you have to be able to run the mile and a half under 12 minutes. If you cannot pass that, they will not accept you. You will be sent home. He has 48 hours to run the mile and a half in under 15 minutes. If he does not, however, the first time run it under a mile or run it under 15 minutes, he will have another day to do it again. If he does not, he is sent home that day. Um, so it is very strict. Like, your child or boyfriend or whatever has to run that mile and a half in under 15 minutes, or else they will be sent home. Those were very, very strict rules. Um, Inside, like, we did a tour kind of last year of the Navy boot camp. At least I did, because I was actually in a part of a NASA training thing. So I was allowed onto this boot camp, and it is a very big, beautiful place, but it is nothing wonderful. Like, I watched as recruits are being screamed at, and personally for me, I would have cried. Like, I you have to be so mentally tough. And they're constantly running and marching, and they're working out every day, all day. And if they're not working out, they're studying. I mean, you got fire protection drills. You have, your swimming, obviously. You got your working out, the jogging, and fitness and conditioning. They get, their 3 square meals a day, and it's pretty healthy foods, fruits, vegetables, meat, bread, all the good stuff. It doesn't quite look like school food, but it's pretty close. um, but I don't know. I had it, and it tasted fine to me. Um, I was sitting there was this barracks that was kind of just reserved for me and 4 other girls. We were not part of anything the military was doing, so I don't know. But we could hear in the next room of girls that were actually recruits in the Navy, and we could hear the officer, I'm not sure which one, but there was an officer in there, and she was screaming at them, getting up, getting dressed, hurrying up, marching, running out the door, getting ready, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, oh, good Lord. And they went to bed at like midnight. Like, these kids do not get sleep, and they are constantly pushed very, very, very hard. So, as for me, getting like a little more personal experience at lunch, or pretty much every meal, they are told to sit down in unison, eat in unison, and they got about 3 minutes to finish their meal. The officer will come in, and it'll say attention or whatever, and you are to stand up immediately, take your tray, and throw it away, even if you have not finished eating, and you automatically go outside and run. Like, they will make you run the second you're done eating because they want you to be in pain as much as possible, I guess. Um, but that's kind of what to expect or what to hear from. You'll get a letter in the mail from them in about a week or two. I have actually already wrote to my boyfriend a little bit, basically telling him that I love him and I believe in him, and doing everything, and I hope he does everything he can. Um, we are just hoping he can run that mile and a half under 15 minutes, and soon later under 12, because I know for a fact I would not be able to run a mile and a half under 12 minutes. That would be a struggle for me. But if he does not, it doesn't matter how smart he is, how strong he is, how much try he's got, or how dedicated he is. If he cannot run that mile and a half in under 15 minutes, and soon later at the end of his boot camp run it under 12, he will not graduate, and he will be sent home on an honorary discharge. So he can and will be allowed to try again later next year, um, if he were to be kicked out of boot camp, but you can only go back once. So, and he would have to restart boot camp, which would suck. So that's what it's like, and I'm my boyfriend's girlfriend, and I hope to hear back from you guys and get some subscribers. Like and subscribe if you want. You don't have to. I usually don't subscribe to other people's, but if you want to follow me and get more information on day-to-day basis of what happens, if you are super like wanting to know what happens and want to know someone who's experienced it and what's going to be expecting, whether it's about him or how I feel and how I cope with him being gone, stuff like that, let me know. And I will also do a video of when I get his letter in the mail, and I'll tell you how long it took. And yeah, you guys stay safe, God bless, and have a great day or night or whenever you're watching this.